We are live, as I am told, with an exclamation mark on my screen. Hello, good morning, good evening. Richard, it's so great to have you. Please introduce yourself to those who may not yet know you, which would be crazy in our little world of contracting.
Well, great to be here. Thank you for having me, Lucy. So yeah, for those who I haven't met, I'm Richard Mabey. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Juro. Juro, it sits in this broad CLM space, and has a lot of specific things that hopefully we'll talk through. But I've been working with contracts like my entire career, first as an attorney, and then Juro is now 9 years old. So we've seen multiple waves of this legal tech world, and yeah, excited to talk a bit about that.
All right, so CEO of a CLM. Is it safe to say CLM tech company, or do we want to negotiate what we call it?
We call it an intelligent contracting platform, but we will often get lumped in with the CLMs, and when the world was much simpler and there was CLM and it was a category and not everything was a blur, we were probably more of a CLM, but a lot of shift in the last few years.
Okay, yes. So let's start with that. And also, I'd like to remind everybody that these are not sponsored talks, nor are they filtered, planned, or scripted. So here goes. But let's talk about the definition of CLM today. We're advisors on the space. This is a topic near and dear to my heart. And honestly, I find myself constantly reminding, refreshing, and educating certainly our clients and prospects about it. My soapbox is CLM itself is not technology. It is a very complicated series of processes and people and tools and policies, and it is contract lifecycle management, not lifestyle management, which I saw that in a cute little typo recently, but I kind of liked it. But anyway, I digress.
Living the contract lifestyle.
Yes, yeah, no, we definitely it's become a lifestyle. So tell me your definition and how it's morphed over time.
It's a scary question because you've probably got a much better definition than me, having kind of pioneered the space. But yeah, wholly aligned. It's about a business process. I mean, the tech is secondary to that. I think contracts ultimately are codifying the kind of atomic units of commerce within a business, buying stuff and selling stuff. And as a result, across the life cycle, there's a process that must be completed in order to codify those contracts and to ensure that over time they're managed. And I think that definition has changed a bit over time. When we say life cycle, we really mean from request or draft on one end of the process all the way through to renewal. And that for us, and I think others, covers the approval stage, the negotiation stage, electronic signature, storage, tracking, analysis, and beyond. So we tend to think of that category as being having a whole stack of stuff you need to automate, but over a broad end-to-end life cycle.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So that's what we've seen. Also, this end-to-end be thrown in as a category descriptor in some ways, and then we've seen other related technologies, contract intelligence, contract review automation, and a variety of others. And I think that's a good, I think for those who are out there shopping for CLM systems, thinking of CLM as truly from start to end, that's the way to think about it. And what's interesting, you said it starts from the request and it then gets to managing it post signature. I mean, finding one tool that does all of that, and I'm going to throw in that negotiation that you listed in the laundry list, but wow, negotiation gets into really what's inside the four corners. And for all of my, our law school buddies, right, we know what the four corners are. We were taught about the words inside the four corners, and that's where lawyers live and breathe. And yet lawyers are out there shopping for fast, crazy, great, CLM systems, but boy, they're worried about what's inside the four corners. So tell me that balance of really workflow automation, which is the life cycle of a contract is a workflow, but then really that negotiation phase. Dig into that a little bit, and how do we think about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like when we started, right, Juro really started in kind of document automation. Okay. So the first part of the product was like for the really routine contracts around your business, first party documents, go into your integrated system, go into Salesforce or HubSpot or Slack or whatever it was, fill out a form, merge some fields and you're going to get a document, you can send it for signature. That's how we started. And
Okay.
the reason we started there was actually like the premise behind Juro was always how much work the lawyers need to do in the life cycle versus others. And as you say, it's like, it's pretty obvious in the negotiation phase, it's a heavily legal thing, but assembling documents, is that lawyer led? Managing renewals, is that a lawyer thing? And we just found like lawyers are super overworked already. Like, why add more stuff that it has nothing to do with the law? And so we wanted to do that. I think what's become more complex is as Juros develops, so that we call that the value area self-serve contracts. We've added in our own AI review solution, and we've added a repository, which we call intelligent repository, which allows you to store and analyze contracts. Now, what we find, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, but like some people come to us, they say, we want everything. So the one, platform to rule them all, that's what we want. And we're not interested in stitching together point solutions. And to an extent, you can do that with Juro. I think we have some spikes where we're really good, and there are some things which we're really lightweight at. What we prefer is where people say, look, we're kind of agnostic on the tools, right? Like, maybe we want our own separate contract review solution. Maybe we want that to hook into a repository. I think for us, the key is opening up and just giving choice, because at the end of the day, like, we don't really mind. Like, we want to get the clients the best solutions for them, and everything's kind of different.
Yeah, we're seeing, so we definitely see the hunger and desire for that end-to-end system. Also, it usually comes from the people who are asking for this end-to-end system for all their contracts. And when I hear end-to-end, and I hear all, we want every contract, we want every unit in the business, business unit, I get a little uncomfortable. Like, we're like, can we just, okay, yes, good that you're thinking that, but, here comes the big but. And I think that's just the reality that people don't want to hear. Reality that people don't want to hear is that end-to-end CLM systems for all contracts is nearly impossible. Small companies, young companies, companies that are run with a top-down kind of mandate culture, and there's no judgment in any of this. I'm simply relaying what we see every day on the ground. Maybe they can do it. They get in early. They have very mandated processes. They can really let the tool drive the process. Okay, let's give it a whirl. But most end up, even if that's the dream, even if that's what the system they select, they realize then through implementation that it's just not feasible. So at some point it comes out. People don't like to hear this, and we very much were always like, God, we're like that perpetual rain cloud. My colleague on my team, Laura Trope, was like, we always kind of rain on people's parade. We're just like that little cloud, that clients have to deal with, because we're truth sayers, and it's not always fun. So I'm with you on the piecing together. Look, it's good and bad, right? No legal team is expert at piecing together technology. Hey, they can't hardly buy it. They can hardly identify it. Never mind then managing integrated pieces or even managing multiple systems. So it's a bit of a dilemma, I think, for legal teams, and it has been. It's just that they're promised a lot of stuff. So when they're hearing what I'm saying, it's like, well, but wait, I saw this demo. I want this thing. And it's how do you approach from a your demo provider? And by the way, I will not ignore, and we will get to eventually AI. You said it was like 7 minutes in. I like to keep track of how long it takes. Somebody note that 7 minutes. We will definitely get to AI in a sec, but I do want to know from your perspective as the solution provider who's probably done more than his fair share of demos. How do you balance the, hey, I want to show you something really shiny and sexy and good and cool because that's how we built the demo, with how do you make it real? How do you make it real for the clients?
Totally. I mean, Juro, so we've got like 600 customers. So we've been through the ringer on like implementations and how you do it. And I think we learned a couple of things. Like one is, it really helps to just solve one problem first. I mean, I know this sounds like completely like cookie cutter.
Unsexy, boring, and no motivation, lazy. I mean, I know it sounds all the terrible things.
It sounds really bad.
Say it again for the people. Say it again.
But and I had to like I had this beaten out of me by my kind of product colleagues who, product people are great at sort of, prioritizing what's important. As a lawyer, as an attorney,
Yeah.
I just got this mind which just goes to, I could just like map out on a spreadsheet like every feature I need. I could just do the comprehensive. I can just nail that documentation.
First of all, no lawyer says spreadsheet, so you are one of these wonderful minority weirdos that I love. Unicorn lawyers, I call us these freaks. We love data and process and spreadsheets. So amen, kudos to you. But just know this 90% don't.
And
but I hear you.
When I was an attorney, I probably would say, I'm going to turn this into a horizontal format MS Word docx. And I'm going to list out literally everything you can think of. And I can do it. I think that leads you to a comprehensive solution, to down that path you mentioned of like, I need everything and it needs to be end to end. And I think going back to what do you need to solve, which is really not actually straightforward, because it's not necessarily what you need. It might be what the business needs. It may be easy, it may be hard. It's a complex process. But then just imagine if you solve one thing simple. And so the thing that we've loved is customers who come to us and they say, look, we're going to start with the fabled NDA. We're going to use your Teams integration, and we're never going to look at an NDA again. So Juro agents are going to mark up NDAs where necessary. I'm going to solve that. And if anyone cares and the business says, we like this, we're going to move to step 2 and we're going to figure out what to do next. And so I think that's one. And then the second is that integrations become easier. So it used to be an absolute epic nightmare of like, you need your IT team to do some API calls to stitch together. Like the legal team normally doesn't get that resource. Like if you fast forward to today, so like we now have an MCP server, and we just yesterday announced integration with Wordsmith, which can use it. It's just like a couple of clicks, and you can like control Juro from Wordsmith or ChatGPT or whatever it is. And that is a great tool for the lawyers because they don't have to do the technical lift. That's kind of done in the background.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about what is good for the lawyers. So here, what I see with all this tech is that we say it's for the lawyers, we say it's to help them, but every experience after the sale, from starting from implementation to post-implementation to break fix to enhancements to expansion, all of that, this cannot, let me rephrase, can CLM tech be managed by a lawyer? Never mind whether it belongs in legal or it's an enterprise tool. We can have another whole hour discussion on that, but let's just tell me, should a lawyer be able to pick and launch and manage a CLM system for a small company, small legal team, let's say?
Well, I mean, you've got much more experience there than I do in the actually working with those teams directly. But I think in our experience, the really small legal teams, like the tiny legal teams, often don't have a choice. So it's kind of like someone said, hey, contracts, that sounds like you because you're like the sole lawyer, deal with it. And they sort of kind of teach themselves legal ops. They're using the Zapier and trying to do it. And actually we see some real heroes there who just kind of learn and get it done. It's obviously much easier in an organization that is like, I don't know, a couple of hundred people to get that rolled out. I think it'd be like virtually impossible in like a large enterprise. And then I think we've seen, really good legal ops people emerge who've kind of led into that.
Yeah.
And we keep looking for patterns here on like who should buy Juro and who should manage it. And it's really inconsistent. We literally have sometimes we have like revenue operations managers coming to us and saying the Salesforce contracting process is really bad. We're going to fix it. We'll loop in the lawyers later. Like, well, this is kind of wild.
Interesting. Okay, so sales, and we see that also. We have procurement, sales. I mean, whoever is the one that's struggling with contracting, and then bringing in legal, and we're starting to see that also morph a lot, right? Every time I hear CLM being referred to as legal tech, I get a little uncomfortable. I mean, if you're trying to really make efficiencies for the legal team and that create and negotiate 2 phases, okay, I get it. That's all templates and clauses and all that, but that's really all it is. If you're really talking about life cycle, please, legal, get out of the life cycle. Get out of the life cycle. That's always our pitch. We're like, why are you involved in anything post-negotiation, respectfully? And why are you chasing signatures, hunting down signed contracts? Oh, let me guess. Well, because it's saved on your C drive. Naughty. Right. But you can't complain then. You can't be like, well, the business doesn't do anything. Like, well, yeah, you got to stop. You got to trust them a little bit, whether you want to or not. Legal's has to let go and trust the business.
Totally.
see that little tension quite a bit. So,
Yeah.
okay, let's talk about the hot topic.
By the way, like briefly
Yeah,
on that, like
please.
that I like is that the 90% of Juro's users aren't lawyers.
Or
So
not
people aren't
lawyers.
surprised by that. But like when you think about it, it's actually like logical, which is you'd have procurement folks and finance folks and sales folks and HR folks.
Honestly, it's what you want. It's what you
Right.
want. And it's a sign that legal, maybe they were the ones who brought in the system, but they get to step out of doing a lot of the stuff. I mean, that's where we start with every law department we talk to. We're like, do you have a clear philosophy and understanding on why you do the contracts you do? Are you doing the right contracts? And are you doing the right parts of the life cycle in the contracts you choose to do? And very few have an answer. Very few have had the opportunity to stop and ask themselves. And I get it. We know those who are in house, it's just a nonstop. It's like a tidal wave that doesn't stop. It just kind of it continues, and it's really hard to pause. The other thing we see quite a bit is that the legal teams are, they're very scared to let go. They need to keep touching the things they're touching. And let's say that's their default position when they first meet us. We try to shift them from that. But I still need to see what if the business puts some weird stuff in these NDAs and what if? And I love asking, what if you actually got to see all the contracts that you aren't seeing that you should be seeing?
Right.
Let's not pretend that what comes to legal is the universe of the contracting that's happening at the company. And so therefore your denominator, is that is the wrong denominator when you're trying to figure out what's the percentage of contracts you should be looking at. It shouldn't be from the contracts I see, I'm going to reduce and I want to see less. Right. That's great.
Yeah.
If you do this programmatically and correctly, you might actually increase the volume that comes to legal initially because you're actually going to see the stuff you should have been seeing. And hopefully you'll get rid of the stuff you should have never been seeing. Does that make sense?
Plus one, yeah.
Is that,
we did a webinar actually recently with our customers, Luna. They showed a graph on this, and they said we brought in like the CLM, and then the contract volumes went up, and everyone was like, what is it? What's chicken and what's egg? Is it like if you buy a CLM, you get more contracts? Like, no, you just didn't see the contracts, and now you see them.
You don't know. That's exactly right. You don't know what you don't know, but let's not pretend. That's what I said. Let's not pretend that this is your universe of contracts. Okay, so people and how they play with contracts, always a fun topic. Let's talk about the artificial intelligence that we are now all trying to figure out. Give me a couple of minutes. Richard's thoughts on AI and contracting, please.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll try and keep it a couple of minutes. So we initially went through the whole Copilot phase. We built exactly what you would expect, AI review in MS Word. We built AI extract in our repository.
Okay, wait, Copilot little c, like Copilot generically, not
non-Microsoft. Yeah, like a thing that helps the lawyers to do the same thing but faster. And then AI assistant, which is also kind of a drafting assistant, and all like mega helpful. And now we can talk about agents in a moment, but that we all have to remember that's amazing. If you can like mark up a contract 30% faster, that's great. Get a first pass. I think things that surprised us there were AI extract in particular. This is one where you can sort of upload like 5,000 contracts and then choose anything you want to extract, and it kind of pushes it in a table which you can export. Things like that, we saw use cases we didn't expect. So people doing like due diligence exercises, like a massive contract review exercise in their CLM.
Okay.
These things were like really cool. So that became absolutely core to what we do. Most of the reason now why people will choose Juro like has some reason to relate to AI. I think like what we've been working on over the last like pretty much 9 months, 12 months is agents. And last year, we have an annual meetup for the company, and it was in, I think, September last year. I said, we're going to be focusing on agents. And I was like, what is an agent? And we spent a lot of time on this thing coming in. It's like agents is like the autonomous, AI that can like multitask and do. And everyone was like, this sounds like weird. I don't think this is going to happen. And wrong about a lot of things, but I think we were right about that. And so now, like the kind of directions we've gone are, for example, AI review agents that live in Slack and Teams and will autonomously mark up contracts. And we're starting to build that. And the front that is emerging is the legal teams who are comfortable with getting business teams to self-serve on the really simple stuff. And then some legal teams who are saying, we're just not there mentally. We want everything to go through legal. We want to be doing the first pass review. And so where we are in the products, we offer both. So we offer like, if you want to do that, you can. You don't have to. And what we're getting really curious about is like, where does the dial go? Like, is it the case that more and more complex legal work will be self-served by the business? We think so, but the path to get there is kind of a little complex, and we're feeling our way and partnering with lawyers because this stuff has got to be accurate, it's got to be safe, and it's got to be secure, it's got to be easy, and you know, this is fluid.
Yeah. So, okay, just for those who aren't clear, which there are still a ton of people who aren't and are, you know, they're starting to feel uncomfortable to ask because it's moving so fast. You know, AI agents, agentic AI, generative AI. Let's do a little taxonomy check, because what you just described was, hey, you can have AI and still be, you know, completely in control, or you can have an agent do things and suddenly you don't need to be at all in control. Help an attorney, you know, who's in-house lawyer who's shopping around going, okay, which words do I even use when I'm watching a demo? What do I ask? What do I say? How do they think about where's that line between, you know, agentic AI is AI that enables agents. If we kind of help, you know, just help bring it down one notch.
Yeah. I think I mean, there's the problem with the agents is like there's a lot of VC money going into agentic products, and so everyone is saying we've got agents. And actually, in legal tech, there's a lot of sort of saying we've got agents, but they're not actually agents. They're just like a workflow.
What are they? Tell us. What are they if they're not agents?
I think like it's probably easiest to explain through an example, right? So if you took AI contract review, like very standard, if for example you open your Microsoft Word plugin, insert name of AI review solution, you click a button and it gives you a first pass review, and then you're manually going through and clicking accept or reject. Very clearly a co-pilot, not an agent, because the level of autonomy of the agent is extremely low. In fact, it's zero. Like you are controlling everything, clicking buttons. The other end of that spectrum is fully autonomous agents, which is kind of like having a junior attorney in your team who just say, look, you know, once a week, you know, we need you to read all the contracts, and if there's any issues, you need to flag them to us, and then you need to draft a letter of amendment, and then you need to send it. Here's what I've kind of told you to do. Now just go off forever and do that until I tell you to stop. So really like Wild West of there's this thing that is like living in your tech stack. And a lot of the things that are being styled as agents are really somewhere in the middle. So it might be that you have an AI that can do 3 steps.
Okay.
But the steps are predetermined. So really an agent is a fully autonomous AI that you tell them to do something once and they'll just do it forever until you tell them to stop. And that is the interesting middle ground, which is like how much control do you need over this AI stuff? And that's for lawyers is like the key questions, like, you know, maybe I'll trust a junior attorney to do this, but I wouldn't trust an AI.
Of course. Well, and it's crazy to me a little bit that, you know, we're taking this leap and total, you know, autonomous contract drafting. And frankly, I don't think the professionals are ready for it. Legal's not, it's just, nobody's ready for it. It's a little crazy. It's fun to know that it's there and that the tech exists conceptually and technically it exists, but the quality and the output and the predictability is so far from what anybody's ready for. But I would imagine I've been doing, you know, I'm my own personal travel agent. Of course, I'm a control freak. I love doing it all myself. I love picking and choosing exactly the hotel room, exactly, you know, the flight, the layover, all of that. Right. And I've been so frustrated as I've been trying to use some of the different solutions, chats, and all the different, you know, LLMs out there. And I don't see yet a great travel agent. I'm like, that's actually an agent. I want to put in all my detailed, nuanced parameters. There is no reason why you shouldn't be able to find for me a Hilton property within 1 mile of Rockefeller Center that has 2 beds because I have 4 people, whatever. I mean, this isn't rocket science. Mm. And so I feel like if I don't see that easily doing it for me, in what world am I going to tell an agent to review a contract, edit it, send it to the other side, get it back? I mean, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to call BS on that right now. That's just not, we're just not ready for it.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that's there. But the interesting thing, legal tech is, well, let's just call it legal tech, is often trying to find some of the most complex use cases for agents.
Yes.
So, like, if you've got a $1 million commercial agreement and it's really complicated, like, go and get a first pass review with AI if it's helpful. But at the end of the day, you're going to spend a lot of time in that contract, and you should, right? Because
Exactly.
well,
Yes.
okay. But,
Yes.
but what,
Yes.
what about, and I think there are some really interesting edge cases in CLM which aren't often considered. Like, what about if you just had an agent who read all your contracts once a week and told you if there are any like key risks coming up, and if there were, made some recommendations to you?
You know what? I'm going to dummy it down even better, even more. Too many lawyers are spending time in the statements of work of procurement contracts.
Right.
Statements are why they don't trust the business. I hear it day in, day out. I heard it for 13 years when I was in house at Microsoft, but the business can. But how can we? They can't even. Attorneys are checking the math on the statement of work. And they do this. They do this regularly, whether they admit it or not. If they can't look away, took a car accident. And I understand where they're coming from. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. Why not start with that? How
Right.
about an agent just does the math? An agent checks the math before it comes to legal. So that legal knows that, well, procurement may not have done their job. Shame on them. That's another issue. That the agent has checked that, and maybe the agent has checked for the spelling of the opposing party's name. Hey, there's a novel idea, right?
That's
I feel
amazing.
like, yeah, but I feel like you're right that people are jumping beyond. Like, no, we got to get the super duper smarty super robot, and you're like, give me a dumb little robot that's just going to do like 3 things really well.
And something that, like, I'll give you an example from Juro. So this is what I really liked, which was with our AI extract tool. You can basically extract fields, but the fields can be a prompt, so you can write anything in the field. So a very typical use case is I'm going to upload a contract. You're going to tell me the price, and the AI is really, really good using like GPT-5 and Claude models and whatever. Is extremely good at not just finding like a number, but reading the whole contract and understanding a pricing dynamic. In fact, in some cases, it is better than a junior attorney at doing that. And so it will read it and it will give you that number. And then what you can do is you can connect that number to a workflow. So you say, anytime anyone uploads a contract, if the true value of the contract is above $50,000, it needs to get an approval ping to legal. Yeah. And that is something which will autonomously live. And so going back to that point of, do you even know what contracts your organization has? Most of them are not going through any process. If it's literally like someone just needs to upload it in Slack, and then this thing is going to happen magically in the background, and that's going to give you more oversight. Amazing. But all it's done is it found out the price. It's not marked up the contract. It's not told you the risk. It's not told you anything. But it's saving a human being reading, in some cases we have customers doing 1,000 contracts a month. Yeah. It's just saving a whole bunch of time. And like, why not? Why not jump in there?
Oh, I love that. We have 2 minutes left. And what that tells me is that there's a really, really good use case for automating and enforcing a legal review policy. And that's where we start. Well, again, we're the boring, everybody wants AI, fancy pants. I'm like, hey, do you have a policy? Can you just write down what legal wants to spend time on and what legal doesn't want to spend time on? And what you just described to me sounds like, hey, not only can we help legal teams really think through what is important to them and where these thresholds are, but now we're also saying, and you can help enforce it with very simple, easy tech. And you get the bonus of saying, hey, we use AI in legal, because we're finding that quite a bit. We have legal teams that call us, I need AI, we need AI, help us buy AI. We've actually had, kind of prospects go, well, we really don't sense that you have enough of a focus on AI. I'm like, you don't know who does contracts, how many contracts, what? But okay, you're shopping for a Ferrari engine, but you don't have a driver's license yet.
Right.
So in our last minute, let's round out like top tips for those legal teams who have pressure to be using AI, but are really haven't done their prep work. Where can they start with an easy win?
So I think start small, find one extraordinarily simple use case, pilot a tool or buy a tool cheaply. Don't do $1 million CLM thing, and solve it, and see if you could just roll it out in like a few days, and then just see if anyone cares. If people care and they start using it because you've delivered that experience, move on to the next thing. I'd say start small is the thing that we see our most successful customers doing. And that does require a bit of taking the lawyer out of your head and kind of thinking like a product person.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. That's it. I mean, right on time. Thank you so much, Richard. Start small, test it. Once people love it, expand further. Hey, that's about the easiest formula I've heard for success. I hope people listen. I hope that they embrace this because it's still sexy. It's still great. It's still got a big vision. It's just the implementation is small in phase. So thank you so much. I think that is the words of wisdom. Have a wonderful weekend and rest of your day, Richard. Thank you so much for joining me. And this will be available for others. So thanks so much. More to come.
Thanks, Lucy. Have a great day.
Take care. Bye-bye.